Welcome everybody out there in Zoom land. My name is Sean Winter. I'm the Global Vice President of Client Success at Movius. And thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday, beautiful fall day here in Richmond, Virginia for me. I am joined by Deanne Montalbano. Deanne, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody in Zoom land. I love that, by the way.
Deanne is up in New York. How are things in New York today? Is it a picture perfect fall day?
There are some brilliant colors. I will say that it's a little windy, but we'll take it. There's no rain.
Perfect. Yeah, we've had a great fall so far down here, so I'm hoping it lasts. It seems to get shorter every year, but hopefully today it'll stick around this year it'll stick around for a while. Well, thanks for everyone for joining. We're super excited. If you've been following us on LinkedIn the past few weeks, you've certainly seen a lot of posts from Movius clients, Movius employees, Movius partners, et cetera, about our new WhatsApp messaging integration. We know WhatsApp is one of the world's leading consumer messaging tools, and we've done a lot of work around how can we securely and compliantly bring that into multi-line, and we're going to walk you through that in detail today. So super excited about this. This is a great step forward for the company, and we're excited to start sharing these concepts with our clients and partners. So as far as how we got here, I did want to spend I promised there are only a few slides because we want to show you the product, but did want to spend a few minutes in terms of just describing how we got here. As we all know, in the last 6 or 7 months, the world's changed fairly significantly. And so we found, we'll say 6 themes that I think are driving the adoption of these types of mobile tools. So number 1 is the concept of a shift to a work from anywhere world, with companies offering obviously more flexible work from home policies and reevaluating the need for both office-based work and office-based technology, just because frankly, a lot of us aren't going to the office anymore, and there's a lot of space and technology that's sitting there. So how can we better use what we have at home to make us more productive and efficient? Secondarily, mobile is obviously gaining momentum as companies equip their teams to work remotely and rethink their use of those desktop-based technologies. We've seen a lot of new compliance challenges given the COVID era that have forced companies, especially in regulated industries, if you think about financial services, healthcare, government, et cetera, that have forced them to adjust policies and IT systems for this new remote workforce. Number 4 is the notion of digital disruptors that are transforming client engagement. This is something that's been certainly going on for years, but now you have a lot of these fintech firms that are really setting new standards in terms of the idea and the expectations of their clients from a mobile communication interactive work perspective. Number 5 kind of builds off that, and it's the increasing digitization of communications with clients. Let's be honest, a lot of people want to use the messaging apps that they use in their personal life to do business-related transactions. So whether that's SMS, which is super popular, obviously in North America, or a WhatsApp or a WeChat, these are the types of technologies the customers expect to use. And so the employees that work with these clients really need to have access to those, because not everybody wants to pick up a phone every day anymore. And so we need to recognize that and enable our bankers, wealth managers, relationship managers, et cetera, to do these types of things. And then finally, the bad news is it looks like we're going to be in a recession for some time. The most recent jobs report in the U.S. wasn't all that positive. So it'll be no surprise if we do see some cost-cutting measures coming out of a lot of big firms. Makes sense. Companies are probably getting hit on the revenue side, so they're going to be looking to control costs. So if you look at the first 5 themes here, you have this need to provide more modern, mobile, secure, compliant communications. And then number 6 is how do you do that in a very cost-conscious way? So we think we at Movius have a really great solution there. So a lot of companies we found, put mobile strategies in place that really accounted for maybe specific roles that traveled the world frequently, or specific regions that were more dependent on mobile. But with the world kind of all being mobile right now, we've noticed a lot of companies have gaps in some of these strategies. So number 1 is gaps in compliance. And we know that we can't just say, hey, you're working from home now, don't use your personal stuff. That's just not a viable way forward. And if we rely on really channel specific solutions, so context switching and app switching throughout the day, that gets really challenging as well. And the final point there is that voice over IP solutions may work for the most part when you're home, but we're probably moving into an era where people will be home, and then some days maybe they'll be in the office, and some days they'll be in between. And how do we start to provide mobile technologies that work everywhere, wherever your employees are? The second gap is specific to client engagement. Obviously, clients want to use the tools that they're using in their personal life. That's one of the primary drivers of us building out a WhatsApp solution here at Movius. From the employee perspective, as we're getting into more messaging channels, more voice channels, et cetera, it becomes very hard to understand all the interactions with the client. So it's important that these tools engage and integrate with other existing systems. We have a great integration with Salesforce that we won't be discussing today, but check it out on our website. So we firmly believe in that as well. And then finally, this is always one of the more surprising ones for me, is we would find it crazy if someone left a firm and was able to take their work email address with them, or their work access to a Teams or a Slack type of tool with them. But yet, more often than not, a lot of people now are using a personal phone number to conduct business. And if they were to change firms tomorrow, a lot of those contacts can very easily go with them. So that's something we certainly want to keep first and foremost. And there are solutions that can easily solve. And then finally, third is the notion of productivity. We talked earlier about the challenges with VoIP, the challenges with context switching throughout the day. That eats heavily into our day, wasting time manually logging communications into something like a Salesforce. That's a known challenge as well. So these are the types of things that we want to keep in mind. And you'll see kind of the little taglines at the bottom there. If we don't keep these, we're running the risk of fines, we're compromising client experience, which can obviously lead to clients going elsewhere, and we're finally disrupting business. So how do we work around that? Well, what Movius believes is that mobile communications will obviously play a bigger and more valuable role in this new world of work. I don't think that's a very disputable statement, given that we're all on Zoom right now. I can see Deanne in her house, I'm in my house. So we know this is the case. This is where we are right now, and how do we build an efficient, productive workforce given the new world of work. And real quickly, I did want to just run through this slide before we get into the demo, so you have context as to how kind of our WhatsApp expansion fits into the overall multi-line product. So you'll see on the far left, we'll start with a client that is choosing to engage with an employee. Maybe it's an investment banker, maybe it's a trader, maybe it's a wealth manager, a financial advisor, maybe it's a nurse or a doctor. And typically, those channels have included, from a Movius perspective, voice and text, which means there's a separate app on a personal phone for the employee that does not in any way cross over into their personal phone or texting app. It's separate. And the conversations, both voice and text, that go through that can be recorded. We're expanding this now into the world of consumer messaging, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And WhatsApp is our first foray into that world. But so you'll see there are these different channels, and you'll see WeChat at the bottom there is something we're thinking about expanding into next, although there's certainly other ones on the table as well. Feedback is welcome there. But so the client can use any of these 3 channels now, potentially for in the future, to communicate with us. They do not need to download a specific app on their phone. They use what they have. They call into the employee. All that is then unified and integrated within multi-line. So the employee just has to go to that one app. And if Deanne is in WhatsApp, I can send her a message from my multi-line. If Jean is SMSing, I can send her a message through multi-line. It's all the same on my end. And then it all goes into our admin console, where it can be recorded, where we can apply surveillance, where we can monitor, or we can analyze it. There's all sorts of things we can do with this data. So again, the idea here, the customer, the client, gets to use the technology that they're most comfortable with, and the employee gets to use one app to do all of this that is secure and compliant. And that ideally is how simple it is. Although we're working on that every day to make it simpler. So now I will turn over to Deanne, our wonderful solution architect, who is going to walk us through some of our high level thinking around WhatsApp and what it looks like and how it operates and all that good stuff.
Great. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, hopefully you guys will all be able to see my phone.
Your lovely children.
And yeah, so that's an old
Working arms.
So hopefully what everybody already understands is the multi-line application is a separate application that is downloaded from either the Google Play Store or the App Store and is placed on your personal mobile device, corporate liable device, so on and so forth. So the bottom left icons, you'll notice I do have a green phone icon, which is my native icon, and to the left of that is my multi-line application. Okay. Once I click into my multi-line application, this obviously is set up very similar to native devices. We're not going to get too deep into the multi-line application itself. We really just want to focus on the WhatsApp feature within it. So a couple of things that I do want to go ahead and showcase. The messages that I currently have here, I have been communicating with. You'll notice there's a little green WhatsApp icon next to several of those messages. And that does indicate that those messages were sent using the WhatsApp feature. One thing, oops, sorry.
And so Deanne, if I could
Yeah.
interrupt you a lot, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So that bottom one, the 9876, that would be just a regular text message?
Right, yeah, and that was actually my onboarding invitation as we kind of onboarded and started testing the WhatsApp instance within the multi-line application. So that's absolutely right. Yep. So in order to start utilizing and communicating using the WhatsApp feature, I'm going to just go into my contacts and I'm going to go ahead and pull myself up here. This is my native phone number, and to the right of that, you'll notice that there are 3 different icons for me as the multi-line user, the employee, to start communicating with this particular contact. The green icon is the WhatsApp option. Next to that is the normal SMS or text option, and then obviously your phone option to dial out. I'm going to go ahead and just show you what happens if I want to request that a customer of mine or a contact of mine would like to start communicating via WhatsApp. And so what happens is a send contact opt-in message is going to go ahead and pop up. And this is basically going to request that the end user, the person that I'm trying to communicate, I'm requesting their permission to start communicating with me via WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've had that experience with when I interact with lots of brands, whether it's sales, support, you name it.
Yep.
It's whether it's a text message or WhatsApp, that's a very common practice and something that not only is required by the WhatsApp API, but also that we believe in as a compliance firm as well.
Sure. Yeah, compliancy absolutely plays a role in that. So that ensures that your end user is either going to opt in or opt out. And so that, again, that gets captured. So the other features that I do want to show you, I'm going to go ahead. Andrew, my colleague in London, and I have already been communicating via WhatsApp. So I do just want to show you some of the messaging based on them requesting them to opt in or opt out. And so Andrew and I were communicating last week and yesterday. And since he has opted in, I do have the ability to go ahead and continue to communicate with him. And I'm going to show you how quickly this actually works. And Andrew, I hope you're
he's outside of London, so this needs to go across the country or across the ocean.
But you'd be very surprised how quickly this is going to reply to me. So you'll notice that everything does get captured in here. It is in real time, even though it is going across a pond or two. But
so Andrew is in his personal WhatsApp, right?
This and there he is. I am.
There he is. And you, as an employee using multi-line, you don't have to use your personal WhatsApp, or you don't even have to have a WhatsApp account. Is that correct?
That as an employee?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. You can have a separate your own personal WhatsApp application, right?
Absolutely.
If the WhatsApp, if you have multi-line and your firm or your company chooses to have the WhatsApp feature incorporated into the multi-line application, that then business multi-line WhatsApp application is embedded into the multi-line app. So
totally different than personal WhatsApp, or if I don't even want to have WhatsApp, I don't even have to.
Yep, absolutely. Completely separate, seamless. There is a very distinct separation from any personal WhatsApp application that you may have versus the multi-line WhatsApp feature. Absolutely right.
Right.
So as you can see, it came very quickly. Hi, Deanne, I'm on. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate your quick reply there. The other feature that I do want to show you, however, is that if you have a contact and you don't know if they have WhatsApp, or you want to communicate with them the first time, possibly using WhatsApp, I'm going to go, and I have another Andrew in here. Please don't even think that it's the same Andy that I was just communicating with, because it's not, even though he's Andy in London. But if I am unsure if somebody has WhatsApp, or I want to try to begin communicating with them via the WhatsApp feature, I can pull up my contact, I can choose the WhatsApp icon, and basically what this is going to tell me is if they don't have the WhatsApp application, it's going to ask me if I want to revert and go ahead and send them a text message or an SMS message instead. Okay, so you don't have to know offhand whether or not the person that you're communicating with has WhatsApp. It will automatically defer and ask you if you want to send them an SMS message instead if they do not have a WhatsApp application. Okay, so that's a really cool feature. The last thing that I do want to talk just briefly about is our templates. Okay, if for whatever reason you are trying to communicate with a client, an end user, whatever it may be, and you've sent them an opt-in request and they haven't responded to you within 24 hours, based on compliancy and things of that nature, there are specific templates that can be used to request them to begin communicating with you via the application. And so that's another feature that we've actually incorporated here. And so what you'll, oops, sorry, wrong Andrew. Sorry. That's the one he opted out on. So you can actually see one way or another if they've opted out and you can no longer communicate with them, or if you sent them a separate message. But there are templates at the very bottom that you can choose to use.
These customizable, Deanne?
You know, they're templated right now. I do, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sean, I do think that they are slightly customizable, but they do have to go through some approval processes with the WhatsApp platform in order to kind of get them enabled into this particular WhatsApp application.
Got it. Yeah, and yeah, just to add on there, you're exactly correct. So for those of you that are interested in a beta program around this, which we're currently offering, we'll use these sort of default stock messages, but then as you roll out to production, there absolutely is an opportunity to make these as custom as you need.
And that's honestly, that's it. You know, there's lots of different ways to be able to communicate. The system will recognize if an end user actually has the WhatsApp application, ask you to revert to send them an SMS message instead. Everything is trackable right within the multi-line application. So all of your messages, it will indicate, again, by that little green phone, if it's a WhatsApp message. If it doesn't have that, it's a normal text message or SMS message. Everything, and I don't know, Sean, if you're going to talk about this in a little bit, but everything is trackable and archivable within our administrative portal for those of you that are familiar with the admin portal. But just another great little feature, again, kind of keeping up with work from anywhere and being able to communicate on various platforms.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a good point. We're trying to centralize as much of this data into one place as possible. So if you are in legal or compliance and you need to understand conversations that Deanne had with a client over a specific period of time, you can go in and all the voice calls, all the SMS messages, and all of the WhatsApp messages are all there in one spot. So it's really easy to download and extract if you want to push it into a separate storage or archival system, or if you just want to search directly within multi-line, it's all there.
Yeah, one-stop shop for all the communications, time and date stamped. You know, you can run, like you said, the analytics. Yeah.
And one other piece I did want to bring up is for this product, we're actually using the official and fully sanctioned WhatsApp Business API. And you can go online and read all about it if you want. There are some other products out there that use different hacked versions, whether they're invasively taking screenshots of your phone and potentially other personal apps. There's all sorts of crazy stuff out there. This is the method that is fully supported by WhatsApp, Facebook, and their partners. So everything here is on the level. And we're super excited to be partnering with them on this product and really bringing to market a true, authentic and safe way to make WhatsApp messages secure and compliant, which is something we're certainly hearing as a request from tons of our customers.
Yep. And last, Andy's in London, so obviously WhatsApp a global reach, and us being able to supply that to our clients and partners.
Absolutely. And just so you all know, some other sort of features that we're starting to look at, Deanne here demoed the notion of a one-to-one conversation. So Deanne is potentially an employee talking to Andy, a client, and vice versa. And not only do they have the ability to go through formal an opt-in process, but they have the ability to send normal messages, to send template messages, and to record all of that. In the future, we're looking into a few other scenarios. So number one is the idea of a group chat. So let's say Deanne wants to bring in a few colleagues. Maybe they're working on a transaction. Maybe they're working on a home lending type use case. Maybe it's a healthcare, and a couple of nurses and doctors want to get together and talk to a patient. So that's something that we're looking into right now, and we expect to have that in the product hopefully later this year. And then also the notion of what we call a warm handoff. So if Deanne is talking to a client and she wants to officially pass that client on to someone else, maybe she's leaving the company, maybe her region or product set is changing, you name it. How can we do that very elegantly within the tool? And so we're already starting to build these sorts of things, and it's a super exciting place for us to continue to expand into consumer messaging.
Okay. Great.
So on that, I'm looking through the chat to see if there are any other questions. We covered off on that. Yes, WhatsApp can be archived and recorded. Oh, I did want to ask about the desktop client. So I referred to this briefly in the slide before this one, where we showed kind of the technical flow from left to right for a client to an employee to an administrator. One of the user experiences that we offer for multi-line users is a desktop version. So obviously, if you're familiar with a Zoom or a Teams, they have a desktop version in addition to a mobile app. We allow multi-line not only to work on mobile, Android, and iOS devices, but as well in Salesforce and also in desktop. So if you want to download a kind of a standalone client, you can make calls and SMSs on that today. And we are actually planning to incorporate WhatsApp into that as well. So more coming there, but that'll be a really great use case if you're at home on your voice over IP all day and you're knocking out, customer contacts or whatever you're doing. You can actually just do that from the desktop directly to the client's WhatsApp. So incredibly powerful there as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that is all the questions. We did have a question on whether hyperlinks work in WhatsApp, and I would assume the answer is yes.
I'm not certain of the answer of that.
It's yes. The support people are telling me that yes.
Okay, good.
That if a client were to send you a hyperlink and vice versa, yes, you can click on it just as you would in WhatsApp.
Super. So yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank you, Deanne, for your time and walking us through. I know as the webinar ends, I think you'll be directed to our website, where not only can you learn more about Movius and the WhatsApp integration, but you can also sign up for a me demo. And like I said, we have a beta program that we're launching now. We've had a great response thus far, and we'd love to have you play with it. Give us your initial feedback. This is obviously a really exciting development and something that's drawing a lot of attention to our products. So we'd love to engage with you, and you can maybe work with someone like Deanne, walk you through the whole process.
Happy to do it.
Well, Deanne, thank you for your time. Gene, thank you for setting this up. Gene, any final comments or questions that we need to cover off on?
None coming in. Just make sure you sign up for the beta. It's exciting.
Yeah, sign up. We're here to help. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks all. Have a good day.